So, something you might not know about me is that I have struggled with anxiety for most of my life. I grew up in a household where anxiety was such the norm that I didn't even realize there was another way to live until my early 20s, when suddenly I was like, what is this feeling? What is this feeling of calmness and peace? It's so unfamiliar. Do other people live this way all the time? Is this what normal is? My half brother says, if you're born with a headache, you don't realize you have one. And that is definitely my experience with anxiety. And as I've continued along my path, I have found tools and tips and tricks that have helped me manage my anxiety. So most of the time nowadays, my anxiety is around a level like 1 to 4. Sometimes it's hardly there at all. But part of the reason that I don't feel it so much is that I am constantly, daily doing the things that help me find that inner peace. So I wanted to share some of my ideas with you all, and I'd love for you to share some of your tips and tricks with me, because I think when we do that, when we impart our wisdom with one another and we collaborate, a better life is available for all of us. So here are my 17 tools I use almost every day to find a greater sense of peace internally, and I hope some of them are interesting to you. So number 1 on the list is meditation. Y'all know me. I love meditation. I host a weekly meditation class here on YouTube every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I meditate every morning. It is something I've done since I was 19, 20 years old. I got into meditation by attending a class at my gym, actually, and it ended up leading me to getting a guru and moving into an ashram for several years. For me, it's the bedrock of what makes my life sustainable, joyful, and peaceful. I used to meditate twice every day. It's hopefully something I'll get back into, but in recent years I've just been doing about 30 minutes of silent meditation, followed by another like 20, 30 minutes of chanting and mantra. And it really makes a world of difference for me. I have a very active brain, a very creative brain. It's always imagining and problem solving and coming up with solutions of what to do next and how to innovate, which is great. But because it is so it's like spinning all the time. It's such a frantic rate. If I didn't have that time of grounding and calmness that meditation provides, then I'm sure it would be spinning out of control. I probably would have gone crazy by this point. So I am immensely grateful to meditation because I think it's actually saved my life. I don't know if I would still be sane today without it. One of the things I hear most often from people, though, is they say, Kaylin, I've tried to meditate. I can't do it. My brain just won't allow me. And that's a fair comment. Like, it can feel really challenging. But what I find is most often the case is people are trying to make a form of meditation work for them that they're just not harmoniously aligned with. There are many different ways to meditate, and you got to find which version of meditation works for you, whether it's silent meditation, mantric meditation, where you're repeating a phrase over and over. The word mantra itself actually means stiller of the thought waves of the mind. Maybe you need to do some more active meditation, like do something guided or walking or making art as a form of meditation. Maybe you need to make love as a form of meditation. That's something that I work on too. So finding your way into that embodied, flowing, conscious state of being, I think, is one of the most useful tools that a person can cultivate. Number 2 on my list is time in nature. So most of us live in very sterilized contemporary worlds where we are isolated between ourselves and the natural world. We live behind panes of glass and walls. We don't walk barefoot in the earth very often, and so we view ourselves as separate. But that's not true. We are organic creatures. We are part of the larger living ecosystem that we like to call Earth. And when we go back and root into that natural world, when we go out and spend time in a forest, walking barefoot in the grass or in the mud, when we open our arms to the sky, we come home to our larger self because we are part of this larger planetary body. We are all part of it in a symbiotic relationship. And so are you taking time to reconnect with that home? Are you going out? Are you swimming? Are you forest bathing? Are you staring at the stars? There's been a lot of research being done linking mental health to connection with nature, and they found that you need to spend at least 2 hours weekly outdoors, ideally broken into increments that are of at least 30 minutes. You need that amount of time for your nervous system to sync up with the natural world. And there is this network in the ground of mycelium, the mycelial matrix. Mushrooms are the fruit of the mycelium. And it creates like a nervous system through our planet where everything is able to chemically communicate. Research is now showing, too, that sentience isn't defined by brain structures. It's actually inherent to every organism, even one-celled creature. And they believe it is delivered through electrical impulses, through the electrical frequencies that exist in our being. And plants are entirely made up of cells that emit electrical currents. So the forest is sentient. Nature is sentient in a way that we are only just discovering. And so when we reconnect with that deeper, slower, wiser, more old, more encompassing sentience. It allows us to come back into a more peaceful state of being. By the way, if you find this useful, please do hit the like button so other people can find this as well. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, turn notifications on. That way you can stay up to date when more good content drops that is helpful for you. Number 3, moving your body every day. For me, I have to go and move my body. So every day I go do some Tai Chi, I do some yoga, I weight lift, and I do a lot of walking. And those things bring me out of here, where anxiety lives, and more into here, into my body, becoming embodied. This is a huge part of my spiritual practice. So are you taking time to do that? Our contemporary world tends to separate the mind and body. They think they're separate. But you go back to ancient Greece, to more old, wise cultures, and they talk about the mind and the body are not only reflections of each other, but they're extenuations of each other. So if you want to be well in the head, you need to be well in your physical form. You need to develop your body. You need to take care of it. You need to move it every single day. And when we do that, we find greater peace. And that leads me to number 4, which is the physical state of being. So over the years, I've gotten a lot more muscular. I weigh almost 80 pounds more than I did in my mid-20s. And I will tell you, as I've gotten physically larger, I feel more at ease. And this is a few things. One, it just makes me feel safer. I feel less threatened because I'm not as intimidated by other people because of having a larger status. But 2, it makes me more grounded. It makes me feel more connected to the earth, heavier. It makes me feel more insulated. And also, having a body that I feel proud of, that is healthy and strong, also gives me a sense of confidence and ease. And I know this is something we don't typically talk about when managing anxiety, but for me, it's actually been a huge thing to help me find a greater peace of mind and greater comfort, is developing my body and to feel strong, larger, more grounded. Number 5, compression. Many of you have probably discovered the joys of a weighted blanket or wearing layers of clothing that keep you feeling surrounded and snuggled. Sometimes I'll even go to my partner and just say, hey, can you come lay on top of me? That feeling of pressure on our body is a great way to help ourselves calm down. I know many of you probably have gotten for your dogs thunder jackets, something that just wraps them and compresses them to help them calm down in storms where they might feel more anxious. We're very similar. So are you taking time to feel stuff weigh down on you to find a little more ease? That leads me into the next one, number 6, wearing soft things. So I can appreciate somebody who's all dressed up in a nice crisp suit, slacks, vest. I think it looks beautiful. But what makes me feel good is soft clothing. So you'll always see me wearing things that are soft and stretchy. I love flannels, I love cottons, I love fleece, I love things that just make me feel cozy. These are my favorite sweaters I got recently. Oh, hey, even just that makes me feel so much better. I love soft textures, and it does something to help calm my nervous system. Those textures make a big difference. So noticing, are you wearing things that are harder? Are you always wearing jeans? Are you wearing denim? Are you wearing other rough fabrics? And how does that affect you? Number 8, being aware of the food you're putting in your body. So I'm a big believer that there's no one right diet for all people. I get really frustrated when you encounter people who are like, you have to eat this way. It's like, girl, calm down. Okay, maybe it's good for you, and maybe it's good for you right now, but things change over time. We all need different things at different times, and we all have different internal equations we have to calibrate. For me, I know the things that make me feel good and calm my anxiety are warm, cooked, wet foods. You give me stuff that is dry, cold, or raw, and my anxiety goes through the roof. And we can see this also in different forms of traditional medicines, like Ayurvedic medicine talk about this, that when you're prone to anxiety, having wet, warm, cooked foods makes a big difference. It's also easier to digest for your body, so you're not using as much energy as digesting like a salad. So I always try to keep this in mind, and I find that makes a big difference for me. Next up on the list, we've got soothing music. So I love having a soft ambient background noise, but I notice there's certain things that work better for me. I generally do not like music with words. If there is talking going on, it's going to pull my attention, and then I want to listen to what they're saying, even if I know the song by heart. And so I prefer either just purely orchestral, instrumental, or if there are human voices, it's more just like choral oohs and ahs, or maybe a foreign language, that way I cannot discern what they're saying. I have a playlist that I listen to pretty much every day, and it's a mix of this one group I love, and I don't know how you say their name. It's VOCES and then the number 8. So is it Voces 8, Voce 8? Voices 8, I don't know. But their music is absolutely beautiful. I have some hammered dulcimers. I've been really into that lately. I like ancient Greek lyres. Those feel really calming to me. But you got to find what works for you. But keeping that soft, tranquil music in the background really makes a big difference. And I notice when I go into spaces where they're playing pop music, my level of tension internally starts to rise. So if I have to go to someone's home and they're just playing like, top 40 hits, I generally have to ask them, like, do you mind, can we just switch on the music to something a little quieter? And usually people are pretty amenable to that. It leads to number 9, which is avoiding harsh spaces. I don't like where things are too intense. So my anxiety will definitely spike if I go into large crowds, especially if they're noisy. I don't like spaces with too much loud noise or bright lights. So you will pretty much never find me in parties. I admire people who can go to clubs and parties and think it's amazing. I cannot. For me, it is an uncomfortable experience. So I prefer softer candlelit spaces, dim lighting, soft soothing music. This means I've had to recalibrate because society tells us we should enjoy those loud, garish, bright, intense things. And if you're a quieter soul for whom that doesn't feel good, it can feel like there's something wrong with you. I should be able to enjoy this. And then those of us who want to force ourselves to go into those spaces often have to use some sort of chemical or mood-altering substance to make it be okay for them. And I think that's part of the reason why you see highly sensitive people often self-medicating, is because things are just too intense, or the environments they're finding themselves in are too intense for them. And so choosing to opt out, choosing to find those spaces instead that feel better. So I may not go to parties, but I love having a couple friends over for games and for dinner and conversation. I love going to a nice discussion group or a cozy restaurant. Like, those things are really lovely for me. So you just got to find what works for you. And on that note, number 10, soothing people. I surround myself with people who have good vibes. I want to be around people who are calm, because we're always exchanging energy. If you want to be calm, put yourself around people who are calm. If you want to be anxious, surround yourself with people who are anxious. Deliberately cultivate friendship circles of people who are spiritually attuned, people who are earthy and grounded and kind and loving and tender. Most of my friends are very physically affectionate. We love to hug and touch one another. Most important, your significant other. You'll hear people saying, it is so damn true, the most important decision you'll make in your life is the person you choose to partner with. Or if you're polyamorous, the people you choose to partner with. And I love my spouse for so many reasons. One of which is the fact that they make me feel so good. They're always kind. They always use loving and affirming language. We never yell at each other. We're both extremely touch positive. We are touching each other all day long. We're always hugging and kissing and cuddling. All night long, we wrap ourselves around one another. We're playful and sweet and tender. Like that charming, loving, tender, gushy sort of energy helps soothe my soul and make me feel beautiful. And be for my partner. Be for him. So just notice the people you're surrounding yourself with, and are they assisting you in living the life you want to live and cultivating the experience you want to have? Continuing along that line of thought, number 11, your home. What is your home space like? So you guys get to see a small part of my home here. This is my sacred space, my YouTube studio, my office, and it's very soothing. It's very calming. It's very homey. It's a space that makes me walk in and go, at least not when I have all my camera equipment around, because that's a little chaotic. But normally it's very soothing. We purposely create a home that when we go inside, it makes us relax. It feels like a heavenly abode. We choose soothing colors, soothing textures, soothing artwork. We have lots of plants. We have lots of natural stones. We pay attention to the scent, the lighting. We've got these beautiful hue lights all over to create an ambient, mystical sort of lightscape. So it doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money, but it does mean being intentional about what you bring into your home and what is the vibe it creates, because every object has a frequency. And so what is the collective frequency of all the items you have gathered in your space? Is it uplifting? Is it calming? Is it stimulating? Is it fear-inducing? Just trying to pay attention to that. Number 12, in our home, we've got 2 dogs, 1 cat, and a few dozen plants. And I find animals to be such a comfort. Dogs in particular are like little angels. I've heard people say they actually come from a more angelic realm of sentience, because all they give is unconditional love. And it is so amazing to have them around the house, because they just want to love you and be near you. And how soothing that is. Having these creatures in my life just amp up my quality of being and help keep me calm. They also get me outdoors every day. And I know my life is better for being a pet dad, for being the guardian of these beautiful, beautiful creatures. One of the things I use to help me stay calm is sound therapy. And two big ways that I use that is one with gongs. So I've got two big gongs that you've probably seen me play in meditation class. And then I also do out loud chanting every day of different mantras. So when I play these instruments or I chant these mantras, it creates a vibration that then moves through my body, bringing everything into alignment. We are mostly water. It's somewhere between 60 and 70% water, and water vibrates. And so when you bring in a frequency that feels good to you, that feels amenable, it's like it just shakes your bones. It just makes everything feel better. And I know from even just spending 10 minutes chanting or 15 minutes sitting and playing these gongs, I get up and I feel like a different person. I feel more aligned, more whole. And there's some beautiful research being done around sound therapy and how it affects you. It's part of the reason that now in our retreats I'm going to be bringing these gongs, and this coming year I want to start doing in-person gong baths for other people more frequently, is because it really does make a difference to really bring you home and into a state of well-being. Another thing that we typically overlook as a calming mechanism is our love life, our physical love life. Physical intimacy, sexual activity can be a great way to bring you into a more calm, joyful state of being. The state of orgasm and the state of enlightenment are sometimes described using the same word in Sanskrit because it creates this transpersonal, open, loving state of being. So whether you're having some sort of intimate time with yourself or with somebody else who is also very positive and intentional about how they're approaching it, it can be a great transmuter of anxiety into a state of bliss. So are you consciously using your lovemaking and your love life to elevate your consciousness and to make things better for you? If that's something that you want to dive more into, it's something I've been talking a lot about on my other YouTube channel, and I'll place the link in the description below if you want to go deeper with those type of videos. Number 15, probably not a surprise for anyone, but chocolate. Dark chocolate. I mean, y'all know this. There is something remarkable about this plant, the cacao plant. I will sometimes use cacao as a ceremonial tool during my retreats and workshops, but the effect it has on us and our physiology is really remarkable. And so, are you taking time every day to enjoy some dark chocolate and seeing the benefit it has for you? Number 16 is what I would call slow life things. Are you taking time to do things that are a little bit slower in their very nature, require a little more peace, a little more quiet? So are you opting for books, for example, instead of media? Like, I love a good book. It calms me, it brings me down into my body, versus a TV show stimulates me. Are you taking time to, for example, wash dishes by hand versus just plopping them into the dishwasher? Are you taking time to walk somewhere versus take a car? Or ride a bike instead of taking public transit? Doing these things that are a little more slow but more intentional also creates a space for greater peace and greater joy. I find that these little shifts make a big collective difference. And last up on my list is your work life. We're going to spend more than a third of our human life working, most likely. And a lot of people are in jobs that don't align with their values or what they need to have a joyful life. And I know it can feel incredibly scary to deviate from the mold or deviate from the pattern you've been exploring. But when we take the time to step back and just observe, is this actually aligned for me? Is this making me well? You might be surprised. I have been there where I've had to work jobs that did not feel in alignment for me. They drew me into a state of unwellness. And me coming on here and hosting this YouTube channel and coaching people and running retreats, this didn't just happen. This was years and years of intentional work and trying different things and exploring how I could find a way of living that really worked for me, brought me joy, brought me peace. And it took well over a decade of trying different things and exploring before I found a way to balance my equation, until I found a way of working that suited my disposition and made me feel well. So if you're just noticing for yourself that, hey, my work environment doesn't suit me, maybe I need to explore working in the same industry but in a different place, a different company, maybe I need to change industries, maybe I need to blow everything up and start from ground zero. You know, it's a terrifying thing to do, but ultimately you only have this one life and you're going to dedicate a significant portion of your life force to your job. So is it something that you feel good about? Is this how you want to be spending that precious resource of life force? Because you've only got so much and you're never going to get it back. All right, so those are my 17 items. What do you all think? What are your items that maybe I missed or something else that you would like to suggest? This is a journey for all of us. It requires daily effort, and we're continually learning and discovering new things. So I'm on the path as much as you. I am still working to cultivate my joyful, ecstatic, radiant, peaceful inner self. And I'm here to just impart what I'm discovering, compare notes, and I'm learning from you just as much as hopefully you're finding some value in what I have to share. If you know somebody else who is struggling with anxiety, please share this video with them. Let's start a conversation on how we can all have a better quality of life. And I want to just thank you for your time today. Time is one of your most precious resources that you will never get back. So the fact that you wanted to spare some minutes with me means a whole great deal. I'm Kalen. I'm a spiritual coach and guide. I help others on their journey home to their ecstatic self. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today. Peace and blessings to you.